So good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Blahunk. I'm chair of Vote Lake Bluff. Thank you for being here tonight. And thanks to our candidates who have agreed to lend their time and talents to our community to serve on our various municipal boards. I think a lot of you have probably been to our town meetings over the years, but I'm sure there are some folks in the audience who are first-timers. So just a minute or two to explain our organization. We are a grassroots group of Lake Bluff citizens just like yourselves, and our remit is to work with the boards to help get the word out on the most pressing issues at the library, the village, the park district, our 2 school districts, and if needed, assist them in candidate search and recruitment so that we can have a fully staffed board to do their best to advise those organizations as to the best way to go, whether it's a financial issue, an infrastructure issue, educational issue, and it's always seemed to work. So really, our work culminates in these town meetings every other year. They are in advance of what are called the consolidated elections, which happens in April of odd-numbered years. So we used to, I think most folks will remember these meetings occurring in December, first Tuesday and Wednesday of December. There are new petition filing deadlines that were signed into law this past summer by Governor Pritzker. And the reason for that, the petition filing date is now November 18th, which necessitated us to move up our meetings. The reason for that was because there are some primary elections that are held for a few of the positions that will be on the April 1st ballot, like coroner and some things like that. So for those individuals who need to run under a certain political party and go through a primary process, they were feeling very squeezed with a petition filing deadline the week before Christmas and then having to quickly galvanize a candidacy for a February primary. So it just gives those individuals a little bit more time, but not us. So we have worked hard the last few months, our organization, to bring together this meeting tonight. Again, we exist to bring focus to the issues of the various boards and to assist in candidate recruitment, and it all culminates in our town meeting, where 4 things will happen tonight. We'll hear from the candidates who are able to be here tonight, and then you all in attendance will have a chance to query them on what's important to you, whether it's a school board issue or a library issue or a village issue. So you can be more informed. It's really maybe the only opportunity for us to hear from the candidates and to be able to make a more informed choice when you step into that ballot box next April. So that's what our charge is. And again, I want to thank everyone, both the candidates and the audience, for being here tonight. Okay, so 4 things will happen. We'll hear from the candidates. You will ask them questions and answers. We typically will take a vote, as our name implies, Vote Lake Bluff, which actually stands for Volunteers Organized to Elect, in case anybody looks closely at our logo. But in the case of a non-contested election where we only have the exact amount of candidates running for the available board positions, we'll obviate a formal balloting and tallying procedure, and we'll just endorse these candidates with a show of hands. So it looks like tonight and possibly tomorrow night there are all non-contested elections, so we won't have to go through, which can sometimes be a lengthy balloting process to tally up the votes and get the winners announced. Okay. So before we get to the candidates, I just want to acknowledge my team members who have worked long and hard the last 6 months to bring this meeting to fruition. So specifically, Tim Penich, our secretary, Dave Anderson, our treasurer, Lynette Foss, our website manager, Lane Bennett, Neil Dahlman, Charlie Hamlin, Rich Pless, Polly Richardson, Jill Rosa, and last but not least, Jan Schnobrook, who's probably sitting out in the hall, but has been around these meetings for many decades, not just years. So how about joining me in a nice round of applause for those people? Okay, I hope everyone has an agenda. Is Matt Zowdy in attendance? Matt's on the ballot, is unable to make it tonight, and as is John Hodges. Now, Bonnie Scholl is, I believe, she's the current board president. Bonnie and her husband had planned a European trip many, many months ago before realizing that we changed our date. So Bonnie is not here tonight, but she asked me to read a statement for her. And I'll do that now. Hello, neighbors. Thank you for your interest in our local elections and for being here tonight. Unfortunately, I booked a vacation prior to knowing the date of tonight's Vote Lake Bluff event. So, sorry for my absence. I have served on the library board for the last 3.5 years. In that time, I've served first as secretary, then as vice president, and now as president of the library board. I am seeking a second term to continue supporting our cherished library. One of the things you may have noticed is that the board has been much more transparent in communicating about the library in our printed newsletter, website, and social media posts. We've been communicating about the condition of the building and about the financial standing of the library. Additionally, we have modified the operating hours of the library to reflect building usage and to provide increased core services such as story times. If you have any further questions about the library board, I invite you to attend one of our meetings. The next one is November 19th at 7 p.m. in the library. Thank you for your consideration, Bonnie. Okay. So, absent any other candidate statements, seems a little bit silly to ask for questions from the audience. I would ask, again, to just echo Bonnie's sentiment. If there are concerns, questions, comments for the library board, please do attend that meeting or send an email into the board. And I know there's members in the community who do have those kinds of questions, and we encourage them to be active and to engage the library board, the interim director for now. There's a search going on for a permanent director. It's a very, very valuable resource. They have their challenges, and they need the community to speak up and make sure that they can direct their efforts in the most appropriate areas. Okay. So with that, is Graham in the house? Regis, is the clerk candidate here tonight? Do we know? Okay. All right. We'll move on to the village terms, but we wanted to hopefully introduce Graham Hallen, who has recently submitted an application to serve a 4-year term as clerk of the Village of Lake Bluff. Okay, so we welcome Graham, and I'm sure he will do a good job in that role. His name will be on the ballot on April 1st. We're going to move on now to the village trustee candidates, including the president, Regis, who thank you both for being here, and Taryn Fisher. So I will ask first Regis and then Taryn to give a 2-minute statement of their candidacy, and these gentlemen here will be keeping you honest with the timing. So Regis, please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Regis Charlot. My statement might be 2.5 minutes. I retired from corporate life about 6 years ago, grateful for the supportive village that helped my wife and me raise our children. After volunteering for Fox Nation Indian Guides and Princesses, Cub Scout, Lake Bluff Boy Scouts, Troop 42, Girl Scouts, and the Lake Bluff Yacht Club, I was encouraged to extend my volunteer work to serve the village of Lake Bluff in a government role. I have a chance to be without a full-time activity. With a benefit of time to focus, I approach everything from a strategic standpoint, aiming to bring perspective and place trust in teamwork. I do not claim to have all the answers. Instead, my goal is to work as part of a village board team supported by 11 advisory boards. Advisory teams I know will contribute insight and brilliant solutions to benefit our community. To this, Lake Bluff faces zoning challenges highlighted by our missing middle housing study and addressed in the upcoming comprehensive plan. On a positive note, the Block 3 redevelopment has reached a neighbor-supported agreement and is progressing toward a satisfactory outcome. In contrast, Stonebridge, 47-acre development, has been reset to its pre-2008 status, which will likely prompt renewed discussions around what aligns best with the neighboring community and our school system capacity. Lake Bluff also faces several infrastructure needs, including a redo of Sheridan Road in 2025, a redo of Green Bay Road south of Route 76, including the bridge to Lake Forest starting in March 2026, the Illinois Route 41176 interchange, specifically the pumping station next fall, and the interchange in 2030. We have to prepare for that. The North Green Bay Bridge to North Chicago, year 2027, an improvement to our storm water infrastructure network. Of these, the storm infrastructure is the most pressing to our community. It directly impacts our property values and will be critical to our community resilience and quality of life over the next 20 to 30 years. And I'm happy to say we have concrete progress, where we should see a deep tunnel foundation started in the next 18 months. Lake Bluff is defined by its historic character, excellent schools, and undeniable charm. It's a place where families are drawn to experience the unique North Shore spirit, invest in our real estate market, and contribute to our vibrant community. Here, people smile and greet each other warmly on the street. And we look forward to gathering downtown and connecting with friends. And to this, I'm fully committed to nurturing this spirit over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Regis. And now, Taryn Fisher.
Gentlemen, I'm not going to make you work as hard as you just did for Regis, okay? But I will say, Graham passed his time to Regis, so that's how we're going to work that, Regis. You went way over your time budget. I'm Taryn Fisher, if you don't know me already. I just want to start by saying I'm super energized to just be in the room with you all. Seeing this many people come out, it was a long week last week. You might have some election fatigue, but you're here because you love your community, and that's why I'm here tonight. I'm a Lake Bluff resident of 15 years, but I grew up in Lake County. I was born in Highland Park, and then I moved to Lake Forest. So I'm a Lake Forest high school graduate, and I made a very purposeful choice to raise my own children in Lake Bluff. I am, during the day, a family law attorney. I have my own small boutique practice, and I serve people in Lake County and Cook County. I do a lot of pro bono work for people who can't afford legal services to make sure their voices are heard in the court system. And I'm a mediator, and I bring my mediation skills to the board, which I currently sit on. And running and winning a contested election 4 years ago was one of the greatest challenges and honors that I have faced in my years. And to be able to give my time voluntarily to this community that gives me so much and fills my bucket so much and cares for my 2 beautiful children and supports me and my husband, well, it's just one of the greatest honors I could ask for. So I'm here again to ask for your vote. I'm happy to answer all of your questions, but I can also share a little bit about what I'm most proud about over the last 4 years. And that's a lot. We've done a lot as a board. We all come from different backgrounds, and we have different philosophies, different political points of view. But in Lake Bluff, we set all that aside and we work together because that's what this community is all about, working together as a team and sharing ideas to make progress. Let's just start off with the fact that we were elected during COVID. And COVID it sucked, right? It was really awful, and we navigated it together as a community. There were people who were upset and angry and scared, but Lake Bluff still thrived. We as a board managed to put our heads together to come up with ways to keep our downtown vibrant, to keep businesses working and flowing and going. Restaurants remained open, and we were able to eat outside. And in fact, we created this beautiful outdoor area that came from a lot of thought. And it also came from us listening to the community and taking your voices and filtering it in and making sure that we could achieve what you were asking from us. Regis mentioned some of the things that I think are super important that we'll have to keep focusing on. And those are not the sexiest topics. So infrastructure and stormwater management and redoing our roads and beautifying the downtown area, those some of those issues are issues that have been kicked down the road by previous boards because they're not fun to talk about. I mean, the stormwater issue is an expensive, overwhelming endeavor, and we got to deal with it because those 100-year storms it turns out they're coming a little more frequently, and your backyards, if they're anything like mine, are flooding. And so we are committed to solving that problem efficiently and fiscally responsibly. While we talk about fiscal responsibility, this village maintains a AAA bond rating, and that's because we prioritize the importance of being responsible with the taxpayers' money. I'll stop for now and just say again that I have so much pride to be a Bluffer. I really do. It's an amazing, unique, small community that is filled with the most diverse, interesting, kind group of neighbors and friends. I raise my children on a philosophy called Tikkun Olam, which is healing the world and making the world what you want to see of it, and primarily through acts of service. And what better way to live that philosophy for my children than to serve you all as a member of the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Regis and Taryn. So there are some questions from the audience. Before we get to them, just one from Vote Lake Bluff. Regis, you had mentioned one of the village priorities is housing, including mixed middle housing, the Stonebridge situation, which anyone who's been in this town for any amount of time knows about that, and Block 3. So could I ask you, Regis, just take a minute and, or be brief, but try to expound on some of those. What is the intermediate plan? What's the current state? And what would you like to see as your vision regarding those three housing issues?
We're 4 square miles, about 6,500 people. The main issue is we would like people to be able to downsize and continue living in Lake Bluff after your children leave for a different location where you want not a house with 4 bedrooms, but an apartment or a condo or a small house. It is really hard to achieve today. We did what is called the missing middle house study. It showed that 60% of the dwellings in town do not fit people living in those dwellings. Okay, it's a very important figure right here. We took that at heart. So having that study done, having also, we are now achieving a land use study that will basically say what we can do with zoning, what we can do with our town, to where we could basically tune our town to the needs of our residents. Okay, this is important. Participate. This is on the website. There are meetings for it. Show up. This is important. This reflects what we want to see in our village. Block 3 has been a very contentious subject. We're getting to resolution. We have, basically those are 5 lots. 3 of them belong to a family. The last 2 belong to another family. The first family found a developer, and they will build 8 condos, 8 units in a block that looks like Gary Lawrence's building, basically matching the same design on Scranton. The next 2 lots will also follow the same pattern, maybe a little bit different, more like townhouse design. That was exposed on our last zoning board meeting. That will also be looked again at the November 20th meeting on the zoning board. Stonebridge is a disappointment. I thought we had the deal going on. I thought when I joined the board, we had an over 55, 98 units, a gatehouse and a villa that would be the center, the social center of Stonebridge. We got married there, by the way, so I really like this place. We went from no limit on age limit to 135 houses, or we ask for it, to we can't do that. The community will not be able to accept that many people from a roads infrastructure, from a school infrastructure. We don't have a space, especially in this school right here. So we basically went back and forth and back and forth. The pandemic came around, the project fell apart, the developer basically backed out, tried to do a few more things, but really backed out, left town. And this is where we are. And we basically removed the zoning. We're back to 5 lots for the 47 acres. We still have an agreement to keep the front 11 acres, 11 acres, that is the lake, and to keep the wildlife and to keep the appearance of a village. And we're now waiting for a different agreement to come with. I'm extremely clear that anything happening there has to be with agreement from the neighboring community. It will affect neighbors, it will affect traffic, it needs to be with the agreement of the community. It's going to be hard.
You hang on. Taryn, anything to add quickly?
Well, I'll just add, how many in this room are members of a multi-generational Lake Bluff family? Raise your hands if you are. Right. So what Regis said is at the heart of this for me, which is, again, part of the pride in Lake Bluff is being able to say, I grew up here, my mom grew up here, and her mom grew up here. It's why this deep, rich history exists for Lake Bluff. It's this close-knit familial feeling. And as housing rises and falls, the costs rise and fall, we want to do what we can to help assure that our kids, when they move back after college and are looking for their starter home, that they can find it. And so that, selfishly, I want my kids to come back so I can be a grandma in Lake Bluff, like my mom was, okay? So I'll add that though Stonebridge was a highly contested and heated issue, this board resolved it. It's not perfect, but we put an end to the litigation that was costing way too much money in legal fees. And we did a beautiful effort at restoration, or what's the word I'm looking for? Salvage of these historical pieces of architecture. And though it wasn't, I'm saying this because it was hard for me. I really appreciated the buildings that existed on that property. It was a private piece of property, and Lake Bluff can't come in and necessarily tell the owner and the developer what to do with that property, but we were able to salvage pieces that have historic relevance from those old buildings. And I say this because government, we can't strive for perfection, right? But what we can do is continue to do the hard labor at resolving issues. We have to work together to resolve and move forward, and that's what we're doing now. So as of right now, I feel confident that Stonebridge is protected for the neighbors who are worried about what might go in there and how will their lives and their backyards be impacted. It's a lesson learned for the village, and I have high expectations of good things ahead.
Very good. Thank you both. Okay, I'm going to put Ed and Ron back to work. In the interest of time, we are going to ask for a 1-minute reply, and these gentlemen will keep you honest with the placards. Okay, so we will rotate who gets to answer first, okay? So we'll start with Regis. Electric cars weigh more than internal combustion counterparts. With greater wear and tear of the roads, why would the village waive the annual vehicle sticker fee?
Actually, the strategy was to encourage people to invest in electric cars, and that was when I was a trustee and Mark was on that board. We had the discussion that is, instead of, it's a token. It was, we charge people $40 per car in Lake Bluff. We say, no, we will not charge anything in Lake Bluff for having an electric car. That was the reasoning, so that we do our part to tell people, you know what, we really like electric cars. Of course, electric cars are about 4,500 pounds, a Tesla, and an SUV is about 2,000 pounds. There's a difference, and we never considered that as quite relevant because actually all the infrastructure is actually dimensioned for the weight of these cars presently.
Okay. Taryn, you have 1 minute.
So again, we're doing cost-benefit analysis here, right? So the impact environmentally on our community, which is we're very proud of nature here. We're a conservationalist community. We love our trees. We love our wildlife, our animals, our bees, our flowers. We're going to always have to do a cost-benefit analysis, and encouraging people to invest in alternative forms of transportation or energy is part of progress. It doesn't mean that we're penalizing folks who, I still drive, I drive a Ford, and it's not electric. So we're not punishing people, but we are encouraging to put our money where our mouth is when it comes to preserving our wildlife.
Do you have a plan for affordable senior housing soon?
So I'm happy to keep talking about it, but as you can tell, this board has prioritized, and we're not going about it in a way that's rash or trigger happy. We have done a lot of research, and we are listening to the community, and again, we are hearing what the community wants, and what the community wants and needs is a variety of housing options so that we can all continue to enjoy and stay in this beautiful community. The question of soon is debatable, but I am encouraged by the momentum, which is really exciting momentum with Block 3, that, again, the Block 3 issue in the past has been very controversial, and we have worked very hard with the neighbors, and transparency with our board is super important. So nothing we do is behind closed doors. We are reaching out to the neighbors and talking to them. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, and Regis.
Thank you. So the concept of community is important to me. It is not only for people buying a house and spending there 5, 10, 15 years and living. This is multi-generational. This is, I'm able to downsize, I'm able to have my children living in the village. It's about all of us. We call the Lake Bluff bubble. It actually means a lot, that is, we are happy to live together. From a policy standpoint, we have had the chance to influence the fact that we can offer housing that is for a reduced size, that people can afford after selling their house. It is on my mind all the time. This is what I would like to do. If the possibility comes about, and it has kind of come about, we will push it, and I will push that, because I believe this is extremely important to our community.
Okay, this next question, I think Regis and Taryn have already spoken to it, but someone took the time to write the question, so I will ask it. And Regis, you answer first on this one. Why has the village allowed the Stonebridge situation to go on this long?
The village of Lake Bluff does not own that parcel of land. Okay, as opposed to, for example, the block 1, that is the brewery and that building, we own the block. We own about half the land. We were able to push, we were able to do a public-private partnership, we were able to get that building that is basically very beneficial to Lake Bluff. Stonebridge doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to the village, I should say. We can only work with a developer, we can only work with a zoning to make sure that it's going to be acceptable to the community. But if the developer intends to back away, that is capitalism. We can only work with what is provided to us. We will influence it, we'll make sure that this is great, as much as we can make it great. But that's where it stops.
Yeah, and I'll just echo that it did feel like it took a really long time. But I'm proud of that in the 4 years, and it was less than 4 years, when this board sat down and got to work, we did resolve it. And we resolved it swiftly and efficiently while preserving the interests that the voices of the community asked us to preserve.
Okay, thank you. Taryn, hang on to that mic. You'll answer this next question. How do you intend to spur development of diverse housing types in the village? Would you consider changes to the zoning code?
So Regis mentioned the multitude of subcommittees that we draw from and listen to. So when we as a board consider changing zoning, we first want to hear from our advisory boards, including the PCZBA, the architectural board, and then of course hearing from the community. So before any zoning changes happen, we take our time, we listen, we think thoughtfully about the full impact, the holistic impact of zoning changes. But that, of course, zoning changes are required at times and play a role in progress and development. So, I mean, short answer, yes, we will be considering zoning changes, but it would be, again, through a very clear, transparent process with the best interests and the character and the strategic goals of the village kept in mind.
Thank you. So I mentioned the missing middle housing study. It actually is in concert with the what we call the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is where we look comprehensively at all types of zoning we have in town. What can you do? What kind of size of building and so on. Actually collecting signatures prior to this meeting, I met Tim Penish, who said, you know, the RH5 or whatever that zoning, you can actually do some very interesting little tweaks that are going to motivate the community to change. We want to bring development to the city. We want to bring young families. We want to keep our seniors here. And either we can do the small changes or we can do a bigger change. The comprehensive plan is that bigger change. I want the type of input from Tim, for example, who is an architect, who says, you know what, you could do that little tweak here, and that's what it is. And that process of feedback by the community is what we're doing right now. So yes, we're engaged.
We've heard a lot the last few minutes from both of our candidates here about the challenges that face the village. This question says, what are 2 to 3 opportunities that you see for the village of Lake Bluff over the next 4 years?
I could name 7 of them because I read them on my notes. And this afternoon I was writing that and I kept going. I think when I took office, we were talking about 5 bridges to be redone. Okay, that's our first opportunity. Find the money. When can we do that? We can only do what we can afford. Roads, it's an ongoing battle. From my standpoint, after we have lived here 28 years, our first house got flooded a few times, and eventually the backyard would just basically get a couple inches of water, and I was hoping that water would not get into our house. The Army Corps of Engineers says in the last 2 years that the water level have gone about 40% up. 100-year storm happens every 5 years. A 200-year storm that should not happen happens, I think, every 10 years. The 2-year storm is not handled by our viaduct. What I see as an opportunity is we can dry up the village, and in the same way, we can do better with our real estate, raising the value of our properties. That is the opportunity on the table.
So I could talk about some of the things that we are excited about on our checklist, but I'm not going to because I want to take the opportunity to just celebrate some of the things that I'm excited about. I think I am excited to continue working with the community and engaging the community more than it already has been. And I think we as a board are excited and planning on many more opportunities to hear from you and make sure your voices are heard. I'm excited about continued beautification of the downtown district, and I'm super excited about continued strategies to bolster our businesses, our local businesses. And I am really looking forward to expanding our relationships with our neighboring communities and figuring out ways to develop those relationships even further.
Great. Thank you both for that. Okay, another good question. Do you believe the Park District should be kept separate or consolidate under the village, and why?
I think the Park District absolutely should be kept separate. It is a separate government entity, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but one of the important reasons that I think it should be separate is it has a different footprint than the village. It serves a different community than the village alone serves. So to me, what's important right now is a future focus onward development of intergovernmental relationships, which we have. I'm looking at my colleague and friend in the back row back there, President Beeler, president of the Park District Board. And I'm really proud of my relationship with President Beeler. And I think, you know, we don't have to ignore an elephant in the room. These two governmental bodies have faced challenges. That's how it goes. We are a village of diverse, different people. People have different ideas and interests and concerns. The key is, how do we work together? So no, we don't need to consume a different governmental body. We need to continue working with and cohesively in concert with our other governmental bodies.
I think my answer is going to be complementary and extremely pragmatic, and I will try to stay within time. To be pragmatic, our government entities, government bodies have their own function. The village is all about zoning, about road, bridges, snow, and making sure that we are living as a community using zoning laws, zoning regulations. The Park District is there for our entertainment. It is not there to create roads, and we're not there to play tennis. Okay, this is the basic point. I really believe the Park District has its place, and we have our place, simply enough. And sometimes we have some little collisions, and we work them out. So it's fine. It happens. We are humans.
This next question, I think, is actually for Vote Lake Bluff, so you guys can take a breath on this. If there is only one candidate for an office nominated by Vote Lake Bluff, what happens if 40 people showed up tonight, but only 3 vote for them? Are they still nominated? So thank you for whoever wrote that question. It's a little nuanced. Again, I mentioned a contested election where we have more candidates than available board spots. That is fortunately or unfortunately not the case this time around. If we were to take a vote, however, you know, the leading vote getter or getters would get the endorsement of our organization. So in that scenario, and again, in just a few minutes here, I'm going to ask for a show of hands to support all of the individuals, whether they're here or not, but who are on the ballot that you see on the backside of your agenda. So, you know, we try to be as democratic and as transparent as possible, but the leading vote getters, even if it's one individual, would gain our endorsement, which really allows them to get their petition signed. If they wanted to pursue some type of a more formal campaign strategy leading up to April, you know, thinking about lawn signs or other things, we would allow them to use our logo, but there's certainly no financial help or anything like that from our fledgling organization. But that's how, at least I would answer that. And I would ask any other committee members if they want to make an additional comment to let me know. I'll be happy to yield the mic. Go ahead, Dave.
Just one small thing to add to that. You do not have to go through Vote Lake Bluff to be on the ballot. You need to get petitions signed and submit your submission to the the County Board of Elections. So we are not the ones that actually put people on the ballot in April. We are just the ones that help people get their petitions signed and give them publicity and allow them to speak to the public so that people get to know them a little bit better.
Very important points. Thank you, Dave. Okay, 2 more questions, and then we'll get to the vote. What is the intent behind the purchase of the North Avenue house?
It's actually very simple. A part of the village has a strategic plan. That plan was done about 5 or 6 years ago. It is due for to be refreshed actually in 2 years from now. Part of that plan is the village acquires land that can be redeveloped in ways that are beneficial to the village. So we bought the house. We don't know what to do with it. We paid $467,000 for it. We're going to leave it there. We're going to get rid of the house because the house is actually very damaged. A lot of water issues. The roof is actually not holding very well. And that's it.
I'll also say that the location is adjacent to the Walnut House, which is also owned by the village. So strategically, it seemed like an investment worth holding on to, because perhaps there's something that would benefit the village with that property. There's some beautiful trees in between both houses. This allows us to preserve those trees. The house was in disrepair and has been standing vacant, which is a potential danger for community members, young people. It had extensive water damage, and we wanted to be sure to be responsible with protecting the community. And finally, I'll also say that it eliminates some uncertainty of what might happen there if a developer, for instance, came and built something. So it's an excellent question. We put a lot of thought into it. It made sense with the budget and the money we have set aside in line with that strategic planning.
One thing I would like to add also is Lake Bluff is what we call in an oak grove. So from basically Zion to Evanston, we have beautiful trees on that lawn. We're not about to cut those trees. There was a plan a few years ago to make a parking lot there. That's not our plan. We are going to keep that space. We are going to, if there is a good opportunity coming our way, such as the brewery or the building that is around the brewery, that would benefit the community, we will consider it. There will be community discussions. That is not where we are.
So, how about a nice round of applause for our village candidates tonight? So if everyone could just turn over and take a look at the candidates we've reviewed tonight. Again, for the Lake Bluff Public Library Board of Trustees, we have 3 individuals for the 4-year term. John Hodges, Bonnie Shaw, who you heard me read Bonnie's statement tonight, Matt Zout, I should say 4 individuals because we have a floor nomination for Courtney Heck. The status of a couple of these individuals, maybe a little bit unsure, but we're hoping that you'll see all 4 of those names on your April ballot. So if I get a show of hands for an endorsement of those candidates for the library. Thanks, Ed. So we reached out to every one of the candidates for the 5 boards that we're going to be discussing tonight and tomorrow by email. A couple of weeks ago, I sent a note to everyone. And some people are here tonight, others are not. Some people responded they would be here. Others we received no response from. So it's at least in the context of who took the time to come here and voice their vision for you and to answer your questions. Hopefully you will see fit to endorse them. I think you bring up a good point. That's something we'll take back to committee. And if any of these individuals seek to use our materials or gain our endorsement, we'd have to have a discussion about that, I think. Okay. So again, a show of hands for, at least for Tara and Regis. Okay, we will take that as affirmation, and you will gain Vote Lake Bluff's endorsement. And more importantly, we hope to see you in the back tables in a few minutes so that we can do everything we can to help you get your petition signed. For the Village of Lake Bluff clerk, I think, help me out, Regis and Taryn. I'm sure Graham fully intends to run for the office of village clerk. He was unable to attend tonight, and he made us aware of that. Okay. So, and also the same for Rafi Ekelmas. He is intending to run. He was not able to be here tonight. Susan Ryder did respond, said she was not going to be participating in the meeting tonight. And And Regis here. So can we get a show of hands for endorsement of our Village of Lake Bluff candidates? Okay. We'll take that as an endorsement. Again, thank everyone for your interest. Thanks for being here tonight. I'll remind everyone that tomorrow we will do this again for our park board candidates in our 2 school districts, District 65 and 115. We will endorse Bonnie and Courtney, and we'll take it back to committee for our endorsement of the other 2. Okay.